Hello, my name is Van and welcome to my kitchen. So we've been in quarantine for a while now and you're probably getting tired of eating dry pasta, potatoes, other stuff that stores well and freezes well. So you're like, man, I want to get some stuff that I want to cook with, like garlic, fresh tomatoes, maybe some toilet paper. So you figure, you get smart. You're like, well, the grocery store restocks on Wednesdays. What if I went there first thing in the morning? So you do, you get there and you find some salmon. So we're gonna be making some salmon today. We're gonna roast it with some garlic and accompany it with some onions, more garlic, and potatoes. And I'll show you how. So we're gonna be making some roasted salmon today. I've sprinkled a little bit of marinade on it. Normally you wanna let this marinate overnight with the seasonings that you have. But if you don't have time or you forgot, you can quickly do this in 20 minutes. So for today's meal, we're gonna use an onion, some of our potatoes that have sprouts. We found some garlic, our salmon, and a little bit of tomatoes. I like cherry tomatoes or the ones on the vine. And I can't forget our spices. Our potatoes need to be trimmed first because they have some sprouts. I always like to use a chef's knife when I cook because it gives me most control. A lot of people are intimidated by the bigger size of the chef's knife, but I like using it. This is how I like to break open my garlic. I peel the garlic, I crush it a little bit with a knife, and then that makes it a little bit easier for the husk to come off. And I'm using the same chef's knife for this task. You could use a smaller paring knife, but I think this is not as easy to mince as the chef's knife. You really get more ground covered when you have the chef's knife. And this is the right way to hold a chef's knife, just like this. This is too low. You want to hold it like right here. Right here. You have the most control. I'm going to use some more garlic, so I'm just grabbing one more. You don't have to. 3 cloves should be enough, but if you really like garlic like I do, you can add more. The way I like to mince is I keep the front part of this knife here kind of like a seesaw, and I keep it pointed I keep it connected to the cutting board, right? I don't want to chop like this. You want to keep it like this and keep that front part of the knife here just connected with the cutting board. And then you can get a little bit quicker and you have control. And then the knife walks along the cutting board like this. So you don't have to go quite that fast. You can go slower, but when you get faster pace, you can do this. Here's another trick that I learned. After you mince your garlic, you can add some salt, and then you're gonna take the chef's knife and you're gonna mash it down. What you're doing is you're forcing the salt to go through the tiny pieces of garlic, and you'll notice it gets mushier because you're just crushing it with the salt. It's begging for mercy. Our potatoes and onions all at the same time. They're going to take about the same amount of time to cook. Now notice we haven't added the garlic just yet. We're going to add that at the end. We're still dealing with really high heat over here, and the garlic is going to be a little too fragile to take the heat. Otherwise, we might risk burning the garlic. So we'll add the garlic towards the end. When it starts to get this color, this is how you know you're almost done browning. We see we're getting some real heavy browning here. We don't want things to burn, so this is pretty good where we're at right now. Let's add some garlic. I'm gonna take about half of that. This is the amount of garlic we want to use. All right, we're gonna prepare our pot with a little bit more oil, just a little bit. This is really hot, so I want to get this in the pot pretty quickly. Get it in there right away. Now notice they look cooked, but this is just browning. The potatoes are still pretty tough. I can stab into them a little bit, but I can tell they're not ready yet. They're maybe like 75 or 80% there. So put them in there. Non-stick pan is nice and clean. And this will just keep going. Shake around the garlic here. You can add a little bit of butter, or you can use more oil. I like to use the butter because it adds a nice flavor. And here we add our onions that we just cooked. This pan is really hot, so right away we're getting some browning, and a lot of that is the butter itself. Butter will burn pretty quickly. So that's what we're seeing, is this butter attaching right to the onion. So now is a good time to add our salmon. You want to make sure it's dry, so just give it a pat down with a paper towel. Just like this. So we want to add some black pepper. I just added a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more. Now you want to keep stirring these onions so that they brown and caramelize easily. But you don't want to stir the salmon too often. You just want to kind of leave it in place because the salmon is very delicate. See here, it's already starting to come apart. And I don't want the salmon to come apart. And because it is delicate, we'll want to just keep it in place here as it cooks. So while the salmon's cooking, we're gonna cut our tomatoes. And here's where a chef's knife may not be enough. You can also use a serrated knife. A serrated knife, something like this, where it has serrated edges. And that'll help you to pierce the thin skin of the tomato a little bit more easily. The acid from the tomatoes is going to make for a really nice combination with the sweetness from these caramelized onions. And the benefit of doing this all in one pan here with the fish, onions, the garlic, and the tomatoes is that we really get all of these flavors mixing into one. And then I'm going to add the garlic now that I've mentioned it. This will be a good time. Our potatoes, let's see how that's doing. It's doing pretty well. bottom, just turn it over. That's good. Don't want to move it around too much or else it might damage the potatoes. Keep mixing this. Keep stirring the tomato and onion mixture. Now you could flip the salmon another time, just to make sure that the salmon is cooking all the way through. Salmon is ready when it's pretty firm here, and the fillets kind of want to just break apart, just like this. See how it just pops out, and it's nice and firm. So if you're cooking with electric, your stovetop's going to be hot still. So to make sure that we're not overcooking anything, you can take it off right away. Thanks for cooking with me today. I really liked what we did with the roasted potatoes. We were able to caramelize some onions, and this time we had some garlic, and plus there were fresh tomatoes, and of course salmon. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to eat.